Hi third graders, welcome back to math. Today we're going to talk about pictographs, which are graphs where you put the information on them using pictures. So first let me walk you through the steps of making a pictograph. The first thing that you need to do is collect some data. I collected some data, which means information, about the types of plants that I have in my house. So I went around my house, I looked at all the plants that I have, and I put them into different groups or categories. Here are the categories that I found. I have some plants that are cactus plants. I have some plants that are flower plants. I have some plants that are palm plants, like a palm tree, except small. And I have some plants that are fern plants, where they have lots of like fluffy leaves coming really far out of them. And then I figured out how many I have of each category of plant. So I found I have 5 cactus plants. I have 4 flower plants, I have 2 palm plants, and I have 1 fern plant. Then I'm ready to start putting my information or my data on a graph. The first thing you need to do when you're making a graph is label everything. It's really important that you label everything on a graph. Otherwise, people have no idea what kind of data you're trying to show on your graph. So I put a title, types of plants in Miss Hilbert's house. This is the title of my graph. That was the first thing that I did. Here, I drew some lines, one going up and one going over. The line going up shows how many plants. So I wrote number of plants. That's a label here. And then I put some numbers on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The bottom shows the type of plant. Here's a label, the type of plants. And then I put all of my different categories. Just like I had them up here, I wrote them down here as well. Cactus, flower, palm, fern. Those are all my different categories of plants. Then I was ready to put the data on my graph. Now when we do a pictograph, we use pictures to show the data. So I decided to draw a leaf to show one plant. By looking at the leaves, I can see how many of each category of plant I have in my house. All I have to do is count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 cactus plants in my house. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 flower plants in my house. 1, 2, 2 palm plants, and 1 fern plant. This is my data. Now you should remember this from 2nd grade because this is something you learned in 2nd grade. When we get to 3rd grade, our graphs start getting a little bit more complicated. So here I used 1 leaf to show 1 plant. But a lot of times when we're in 3rd grade, the maps that we read, 1 picture might mean more than 1 thing. So let me show you a different graph that I also made. This graph shows the number of students in room 313. And the 2 categories that I picked were girls and boys. Now I didn't want to draw a circle for every single girl in the class and for every single boy in the class because that would take me a long time. And it'd be a lot of circles. I'd have to make my graph really tall. So instead, I decided that 1 smiley face represents 2 kids. So when you're reading the graph, you actually have to count by 2s. I still included my title, students in 313. I included my labels. So down here it says student genders because that's the kind of categories I'm going to have in this graph. And then on this side it says number of students. Now if I want to tell how many boys or girls there are in the class, I just count the smiley face, but I'm counting by 2s. I know that because over here I have this piece of information. 1 smiley face equals 2 students. That's called a scale, and it tells you what each picture represents. Now let me see if I can figure out how many girls and how many boys are in our class. Let me do the girls first. So I'm going to count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, now I know that there are 12 girls in our class. Let me see if I can count how many boys there are in our class. 2, 4, 6, 8. Wait, hang on. This circle looks funny. This isn't a whole circle, it's actually half of a circle. So instead of representing 2 students, it only represents 1 student. Let me try that again using this circle to represent 1 boy. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So there are 9 boys in our class.